Hello, welcome to my speakeasy. I'm Jeff, your all-around hostly friend, buddy during these crazy quarantine times. And if you're watching right now on Facebook Live, please share it. Share the link, because the more places you share it, the more people who get to watch. So anyway, when I was a kid, when I grew up, when times got weird, like epic snowstorms or wars or anything strange in the news, we often gathered around the radio. I mean, that's how it was. I mean, we would gather around the radio, and even if we didn't know the faces, we knew the voices, we knew the names, and they were our friends. They were our companions, unobtrusive, to quote the Rush song. So the music, the stories, the community, man, I believe in radio. Now, my guest today is a guy that I met on his radio station at WAAF in Boston. Now, this was back in October, back when there still was a WAAF. And at first I thought, this is like just another radio gig for me. You know, I do a ton of these things, especially in October. And I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll just go do it. But then we started talking, and I was like, wow, it turns out this guy loves food, and he loves beer, and he loves weird legends. And when I looked into his eyes, I thought, you know, first of all, this guy was born in Massachusetts. I was born in Massachusetts. Man, I wonder if we're related. We could even be related. We are both massholes. So anyway, without further adu, let's please welcome to the Speakeasy, Mike Shue. Mike, good to see you.
I don't know if we're related. We do look similar. You have a little Chinese in your family.
Don't we all? Don't we all? So yeah, everybody could see. There we are, side by side. I mean, it's like practically a mirror. But glad to have you. What are you? I know. What are you drinking? What are you having to drink today?
Let's see. Oh, good. We can start drinking now. Is that good?
Well, yeah, that's how we should start. Yeah.
Sure, I got a Greater Good.
Okay.
Greater Good Vibes. I gotta get used to this camera here. Greater Good Vibes.
Yep.
Greater Good, a great brewery from right here in Worcester. You know, and they're struggling like every other brewery in Massachusetts. A lot of breweries are delivering, or they are, you know, you can go there and pick up, but they're not obviously allowing you in there. So call ahead, look online, support your local brewery.
I completely agree. And I'm going a little closer to your hometown. I'm going with Jack's Abbey from Framingham. You were born in Natick, right next town over. So anyway.
Well, I lived in Natick.
You lived
in Natick.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were born there. Yeah. Did I read the bio wrong?
No, I grew up there. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Well, good. Well, I'm just going to give this thing a good pour, because we couldn't do this when I was in AAF with you. You're going out of the can. I'm a little classier.
Well, we could. We just couldn't tell anybody while we were on the air. That's all.
There was that. So, Mike, I'm a little worried about you, because I follow you on Instagram, and you've been posting many, many pictures of cemeteries. And I know times are tough, times are weird, and you've been spending a lot of time in boneyards. So what's up with that?
Well, I like cemeteries, but my wife and my daughter are like, they love cemeteries. My wife used to go out, and every now and then she still does it, some stone, some etchings, some stuff like that, tracing, and it's also a great way to practice your social distancing. It's just you and the family, or just you out there, and there's not really anybody else around, and you can't really hurt anybody who's there. I don't know. You may know better than I. I don't know if a ghost or a spirit can pick up the COVID-19, but it's a great place to go. It's a great place to learn about history. And like I said, my family's a big fan of old creepy cemeteries. So we've been doing what I call the cemetery social distancing tour. So we actually, from your calendar that you gave me, we traveled down to Easton, Connecticut, to go to Union Cemetery, where the White Lady of Easton supposedly still roams around there and jumps in front of cars and stuff like that. Yeah, there it is.
That's Mike's
beautiful place.
Yep, that's Mike's photo. That's from his Instagram. I stole it. So I grew up 2 towns over from there in Newtown. I grew up in Newtown, which was nice. You were super close. And so when I was a kid, we all knew about the White Lady. She's this apparition that's been seen in the cemetery and all along the road on both sides of it. Even as far as like a mile away, people would talk about seeing the White Lady. And it's just one of these legends that was just ever present. And in one version of the story, like, you see her in the road and the car pulls up and they say, well, does this lady need help? And then they pull over and she's gone. Or in another version, the car hits her and they get out and they look and there's even a big dent and they go, oh my God, I killed somebody. But they don't see anyone. And it's these stories just keep going and going. And I love the fact that you drove. I mean, that's not just down the road. That's a couple hours for you, right? I mean, that cemetery called to you. I love that.
Yeah, well, it's about just about 2 hours, and but we needed to get out of the house. A long drive was good. Getting out, getting in the sunshine, So the 2 hours isn't that bad. Right. Believe me, after being stuck in the house,
So if we could jump back for a second, I do want to talk about WAAF because a couple things happened. First of all, AAF, 50 years of rock in Boston. And you can't say enough about AAF, man. I mean, this station broke bands. This station was rock and roll in Boston. I mean, think about like Aerosmith and like so many bands that came and went through there. And when you associate Boston and Boston's music, and something happened back in February that I mean, you would know better than I, but I've never heard of in radio. I've got a lot of friends in radio. First, they sold the station to someone else. That's not unusual. That happens all the time. But they said, they're going to let you spend the last few days signing off. Dude, that's incredible. So first of all, AAF sold out to a Christian contemporary music station. I don't get it either. Mm-hmm. But so they let you guys ride this thing into the sunset. Usually you would just get to your shift. You'd walk into the studio and they'd say, hey, Mike, we're sold. Get out. Just get back in your car and go home. But they let you ride it out, man. When you heard the news and knew you could be on the air, man, what was your thoughts? You, Mistress Carrie, what are you guys thinking?
Well, at first it was a little shocking, and it's just like partially like you described. I got there to do my shift, and I was just about to go on the air. And Carrie and I had actually done our crossover where we talked to each other in between shifts. And then the boss called us into the office. The general manager was in there and he explained everything that went down. And we were shocked because we thought we were going to relaunch the station the following Monday, March 2nd. So we had Carrie and our program director at the time, Joe Calgaro, great guy. They had this whole vision of relaunching the station, getting harder, getting more current music on, getting rid of a lot of the classic rock stuff, because there's a lot of other stations in Boston that play classic rock and they do a great job. But we wanted to offer something, that you can't get anywhere else. Kind of like what AAF was talking about breaking bands, mid-90s, 90s, breaking bands like Godsmack and Korn and Seven Dust and Shinedown and stuff like that. So we were shocked because we thought there was going to be a big relaunch. In fact, the Thursday before that, we had gone out and done all these photo shoots for updated pictures on the website. There had been logos redesigned. The music was redone. The clocks were redone. We were just waiting for March 2nd to come around and relaunch this newer, if you could, louder WAAF. But it's a business. Radio's a business, and Entercom. Someone offered Entercom the money they wanted, and we weren't exactly doing that well. I mean, our plan was to get back to what we did best: break bands, play more current music, be as obnoxious as possible. But someone came by with a number they liked, and that's how it goes in radio. First had a 50-year run as a rock station. Usually stations go through format changes. And that's pretty amazing. It's sad after 50 years that it's gone, but that's quite a run. I had been there for 20 years. Carrie had been there for 28, 29 years. So it was definitely a punch in the gut. But that's how it went down. And then they said, they told us, and we couldn't believe it. So they gave us that day. They said, look, gather your thoughts, get your head wrapped around this. And we asked if, can we go back on the air, say goodbye to people? And they let us do that. And you're right. It's very unusual for a company to let you back on the air after that. They're afraid you're going to go and swear and call them, all sorts of names and call people out. But, Carrie and I, Mistress Carrie and I, thought, well, all this hard work we've done over these years, we're not going to go out like that. We're going to go out and we're going to try to get, there she is. It's my sister right there, man.
Yeah,
She's the
there
best.
you
go. We're going to go out and we're going to go out with listeners, calling in. We're going to talk to as many listeners as we can with people who used to work there and give this a really, the send off AAF deserved. And we thought we did that to the best of our ability. And that is very rare. And I'll tell you, while we were doing it those 2 days, the company was listening to us very closely. They were very, very nervous. So I got to give credit to our general manager, Mark Hannon, who really took the risk and took a lot of flack from Entercom for letting us do that. And it took a lot of convincing on his part and our PD's part at the time, Joe Calgaro, to convince them to let us do that. And they really went to bat for us. And, everybody in the building in Boston, it was kind of a shock to everybody. And those two guys were really on our team. And it's one of the other things that's really disappointing, besides being unemployed and the station being gone, is that I didn't get to work more with those two guys, because finally we had a general manager who got us. Mark Hannon used to run, BCN. So he knew, he had been up against us for years. And so he knew what kind of station we were and what kind of people we are. And Joe Calgaro, they brought him in from Milwaukee, and he wanted to make AAF the big badass rock station it used to be, and changing the music and all those changes we were going to do in the relaunch. So we were all very excited about it. So yeah, it was definitely, took a little wind out of our sails, but we were fortunate. Like you said, it's unusual. We're fortunate enough to say goodbye to people.
And so again, just to remind everyone, AAF, this rock station, turned Christian contemporary music at midnight on the last day of broadcast. And I'm not here to disparage Christian contemporary music. I checked Billboard charts today. I didn't see any on the Billboard top 1,000,000, but whatever. Whatever. Hey, I'm sure someone's listening. And not only that, we're talking about the irony here is that it's soulless, not just the nature of the music, but like they're broadcasting from California, right? They're not even on the ground in Boston. They just wanted a signal in Boston. So you don't have someone who's talking about watching the Sox last night or the Patriots or driving in traffic on the Pike. You've got someone who's just broadcasting. And so, again, I don't pretend to be a radio guru when it comes to the business, but there's no way that the listenership is anything compared to AAF's, number one. And number two, I bet they kept 3, maybe 4 WAAF listeners. Maybe. And that's the high side, right? Maybe it was 2. And so they changed it. But anyway, my whole point, let me get back to it. You guys did the most badass thing ever done in radio. Now you can listen, and I'll post a link to this when we're done. You can listen to the last 15 minutes of the broadcast when you've got Mike Shue, you got Mistress Carrie, you guys are saying awesome stuff, and you're talking about what it's been like at the last song, the very last song you played before. Again, reminder that it went Christian contemporary. Mike Shue, what song did you play into the sunset?
It was Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath.
Yes!
We thought it was appropriate for many, many different reasons. And believe me, there was a couple of days of thought. We really didn't finalize that until a few hours before the very end. And a lot of thought went into it. One, that album came out a couple of weeks before AAF signed on as a rock station on the FM signal for the first time, 50 years. Yeah. So that album's also 50 years old. 2, Black Sabbath is most likely an artist that we have been playing since that time, along with like Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure since we signed on 50 years ago, we've been playing Sabbath the whole time. So it was a core artist of ours. And also, I thought it was personally, I'm just speaking for myself, Jeff. Yeah. Personally, I thought it was a very nice segue going into the new format. It had a good message.
It was so awesome. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to post a link. You guys got to hear it, listen to it. The song starts. They can't play it for licensing reasons, but you can hear the beginning, and it was perfect. So well done. So life for you, and by the way, all the stuff going on right now, I kind of feel like, this is like this apocalyptic, plague that's going on. Man, we had warning signs, and one of them was the end of AAF. We should have known then. We should have known that night, right? Like, I'm not saying that. That wasn't the
It was
four
the end of
horsemen.
AAF.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the end of AAF. It was trading Mookie Betts. You know,
That's
and then
two
it all just
horsemen.
kind of snowballed, right?
Yeah. One horseman.
Tom Brady.
AAF. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tom Brady leaving.
And number 4 is the plague.
Yeah, also, yeah, I've seemed to crumble right after that. You know, you
I'm
could
not
say that
suggesting
maybe
there's a
Mother
connection.
Nature was an AAF fan, you know?
I think that's crystal clear at this point. And if the Christian rock station wants to sell it back. So, Mike, if someone gave you a big bag of money and said, here, design the perfect radio station, you're in charge, you own it, what's it look like?
Well, it definitely has Mistress Carrie involved.
No, of course.
She's
yeah.
like I said, she's my sister. I love working with her. She's a warrior, you know, good times, bad times, whatever. She'll fight as hard as she can. And there she is again.
Right at the end.
And she loves the blush Prosecco there, apparently.
Thank you for clarifying that, because I wasn't sure if that was a 40 just from the angle of the photo. I was like, is that crazy horse? Okay.
That was like pink champagne or something like that.
Oh, good.
That bottle of wine, though, that I'm drinking, I forget the exact name, but it was a very, very nice gift from Ernie Bach.
Oh, sure,
who came up during the last day to say his goodbyes. He's done a lot with AAF over the years.
Yeah.
He gave that to Carrie and I, and I looked it up later.
It's probably good.
It's like a $2,500 bottle of wine.
Yeah, he's got money.
I'm thinking maybe I should have used a glass. I don't know.
It was in a glass. Well, it was already in a glass. You had one.
True. It was a damn good bottle of wine, though, and at just the right exact moment we needed it. You know, so yeah, my station would be very much like what we planned. You know, like a real hard rock station. You know, what we planned was we were going to get rid of some core artists, and believe it or not, I think Black Sabbath would have been one of those artists. Yeah. You know, I think we were going to stop, play music going back to 1990 and nothing before that. And that also included, you know, getting rid of most Guns N' Roses, possibly AC/DC, Led Zeppelin. Yeah, all these are core rock artists. But keep in mind, there are 3, maybe 4 other stations in the Boston market that were playing this. One time I chose on Mike's stations. You know, so I'm thinking, oh my God. So when they told me that, I was like, okay, that makes sense. And it would be just I'd let the DJs have a little more personality out there, you know, be a little more, you know, have that really bad attitude. And when I say bad attitude, I mean that bad, you know, rock and roll attitude, and let them kind of use that a little more. It would just be, you know, we all talked about it. We all worked very hard on it, especially Carrie and Joe. You know, they worked really hard on this relaunch, and it really sounded like it was going to be a lot of fun. And Joe Calgaro was a guy who believed in letting the personality come through more and using the music to express the attitude and the personality. He didn't want it to be a cookie cutter thing with consultants and, you know, all that stuff involved. So I think I would definitely want to kind of bring that, just give that a chance. We never got a chance to hear what that was going to be like on the air. And that's one of the things that'll bother me for a long time is, well, what would have that sounded like? Because we were getting ready to do it. In fact, Joe Calgaro was going to be my partner on the afternoon show. The afternoon show was going to be completely redone and everything, and new morning show and everything like that. So it would definitely be harder and louder. That's for sure.
I like it. So I had a question earlier. Why are you doing this today at 4:20, Jeff? And so, so there's a number of reasons. The first time I met Mike Shue was at 4:20 at the 4:20 smoke break. And look, I got a picture of it. Remember that?
Yes.
There you are. There you are with your partner Josh from the podcast, which we'll talk about too. So Josh and I was like, so when I went in, Mike, I've done a lot of radio as a guest, you know, especially around Halloween. And we started talking, and this is a music station. This is AAF. And the interview goes for 20 minutes. That was unheard of. That's a long time.
Jeff, if you were not a good storyteller, it probably would have been 10 minutes.
All right.
You are a master storyteller. And people loved when you were on the show. I think you were on the show twice.
Twice, yeah.
And they loved it. The phone lines went crazy. The text line went crazy. People would email or post on my social media, hey, that was a great show today. You got to have that guy on more often. You're a great storyteller, man. And it's compelling.
Go on.
It's
Go on.
riveting. And you're handsome and you have great taste in beer.
Thanks.
But
cheers.
yeah, that's why. Yes, cheers, definitely. Yeah. But that's why that went on, because it was just riveting. You have great stories. I mean, and obviously you put the work and the legwork into it, and found all these amazing stories and places in New England. And that's another thing. It was all local. Everything we talked about was local, and that's another thing we'll miss. Like you mentioned, this news station is on. They broadcast out of Los Angeles, but you're not going to get that live and local feel. You're not going to get, like you said, us talking about how much we hate sitting in traffic on the Pike, or how much the Red Sox are going to suck this year, or, all that stuff. So that's another great thing, is that there were local stories, places people can actually go that were listening in our listening area and experience for themselves. And I've just done that a couple of days ago, went down to Easton, Connecticut. We're going to take some more stuff out of your calendar and go explore it.
So here's the funny. Pretty soon, if we keep this up, we're going to sound like two old guys being like, "Get off my lawn." But I mean, I started as a newspaper guy, like back in the mid '90s, and I've watched media just get gobbled up. And when we lost our local newspapers long ago, we're losing our local radio now. Our network affiliates in our cities, they're just running PR stories from around the country. They're not running they can't afford it. I actually understand enough to know, like, you can't have reporters out. You can't have 100 reporters in Massachusetts if you're a Boston TV station. You got like 4, 5, and you're not going to go far to cover stories. So we're losing this local feel. And right now is an example of how badly we want to connect locally. Because people get so caught up in like national politics or whatever. Man, you know who affects you more than anything? Like your local politics, your town, your city.
Yes.
That's what matters. And then after that, your state is the second most important. Federal is like way in the distance. Man, so your community, like I really, as a kid, like we knew all the local DJs. I mean, I couldn't tell them on the street, but I knew their voice. We knew their the way they would talk us through a snowstorm or something weird happening in the news. And we'd die to get on the air and say, "Hey, would you play this song?" And back when they took requests, and so I feel like we're losing this local connection, and maybe just maybe like this internet thing is the answer, but I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I assume you're looking for your next gig right now, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I'd love to stay in radio if I could. I love radio. I've been doing radio my whole life, pretty much. I mean, when I was, when I was 19, I got my first on-air job at a commercial radio station in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. So I've been in the business 30 something years. And, but you're right. That's for radio and print. Yeah. We're losing this live and local thing, this local feel, but fortunately we've got this. Yeah. You're using this medium right here. We've got social media. It doesn't mean it has to stop. The live and local thing doesn't have to stop. And it doesn't. If you look on something like Twitter or Facebook, there's a lot of groups, there's a lot of people focusing on local issues all the time. And like you said, it's, federal politics. Yeah, we should be concerned about that. But I forget who said it. But the saying is, all politics are local. Yeah, right. It starts right here. It starts with like electing your city councilor, who's on your school committee. And then from there, it's a ripple effect. So yeah, of course, national elections, electing people in Congress, that's important. But starting in your area, that's the most important. Your neighborhood, your local town council, or whoever it may be. So get involved in that. Absolutely. And as far as the media goes, there's plenty of stuff all over. Just social media alone, there's plenty of places to go to get involved, whether it's local elections, politics, or even if it's like music or art, or finding your local brewery. That's one of the greatest things now. United States of America is the beer capital of the world. We probably have more breweries than anywhere else in the world. And it was like that when this country started. Not to give like a history lesson here, but everybody made their own beer or they made their own cider and stuff like that. So now it's gotten to be like, hey, there's a brewery that just opened up across the street from me, and they don't put their beer in a packy in a liquor store because, well, they just either don't want to or they don't make enough to do that. And those are the guys you got to support. And from there, it goes out, it spreads out. It's that ripple effect. But, yes, it's unfortunate that newsprint is going away. But remember, those newspaper organizations also have access to the internet. So, if you wanted to support your local paper, the best thing to do is support them online. Here in Worcester, the Telegram and Gazette, it's feeling that squeeze. But they still cover a lot of local stuff online, and I follow a lot of their reporters on Twitter who cover local stuff. So it's just it's a shift. Unfortunately, with radio, radio is like one of the most immediate sources of information you have, and it's absolutely free. And those are really the public airwaves. And so in that case, it's unfortunate less and less people are going to radio, but it's also up to people in radio to get out there and compete.
Yeah.
And there's so many more things. It used to be radio stations competing against each other, and now we're competing against any streaming service like Spotify, Pandora. We're competing against any kind of news service and social media, and guys doing live streams every day and having beers at 420, stuff like that. So there's a lot to compete with now, but everybody has a chance now to get out there and kind of do it themselves and connect that way. It used to be, like you said, everybody would listen to the radio and then call in. And that was kind of like the original, I guess you could say, Twitter. People would call in and give their opinions, and you take all those calls and put them on the air, and everybody shared opinions and stuff like that, which is great. And you can still do that. But, now you can there's like 20 different or more places that you can do that. So while those two main media are going away that you and I were so used to, someone like my daughter, she's looking at Snapchat, Instagram, that's like her sources of information. I always tell her, you can't trust everything you see on there. You always got to consider the source, but there are sources out there, that are reliable and that kind of keep that going.
Yeah, totally, for sure. And so I think we're also at an exciting time, man. When things are weird, when things get hectic and troublesome like this, hey, look, I'm out of work too. Like Ghost Adventures, that's my main paycheck. We've suspended filming. I have no income. My lectures, I go out and I do story nights and stuff like that. We're not allowed to meet. I have zero income right now. And so what am I going to do? Well, you know what? Like, let's go into the lab. I started this. This was born of that. Like, this was born of me going, I miss having beer with my friends. And so like you're a guy I've wanted to have beer with. I'm like, we should have a beer. I feel like we'd have a lot to talk about. And so here we are, right? I mean, we made it happen, even though we couldn't be together, but that's all right. And so so that's how this was born. And so I feel like there's opportunities for all of us to kind of figure it out, right? Like, so it's up to us to innovate, say, all right, well, the world's changed. There's no more print anymore. I'm not going to go look for a newspaper gig. I haven't done that in 20 plus years. Radio is evolving. Like, so how do we do it? How do we solve this problem? How do we innovate? I'm a big believer in podcasts. I know you're doing your podcast. There's Josh. Josh has been doing the break in the ice. Look at this. There you are.
And that's Isaiah.
Yeah.
Isaiah was a weekend guy.
That's the back of your head.
And he's freaking out of his mind.
Yeah.
He's really the as far as the three guys there go, he's the most unhinged. So, but yeah, podcasting is the way to go. That's really what it's about. It's about, if I could show my phone here, this is what it's about right here, and is that broken? People, yeah, that's a broken screen, man.
Oh, that's what it's about.
Guys with a broken screen can't get
busted. Yeah, I get it.
But that's where people want it in their hand on demand. And that's where it's going. And the podcasting thing is perfect. You can listen whenever you want. It used to be, well, I have to make sure I'm listening or watching TV at this time because Love Boat's on, on Friday night at 8:00. So every Friday night at 8:00, you're going to watch Love Boat.
Right.
With a podcast, you can kind of put it aside. And then when you get the free time, you can listen. So that's, with the newspapers and radio, like we're saying, that's where we have to pivot. That's where you have to shift and go into that. And podcasting is a great thing. And now with all this downtime, everybody's going to, at the end of this downtime, you're going to have a few things. You're going to have everybody with an additional 20 pounds because they're drinking beers and they're cooking at home and they're experimenting with food. You may either have a lot of babies or you may have a very high divorce rate because they're all in with each other and not working and everybody's got to deal with each other. So they're driving each other crazy.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have a ton of people with all these brand new things with technology that's made it so easy, like podcasts. You'll probably have triple the podcasts when this finally blows over, and I hope it's soon. You'll have triple the podcasts, because now you've got people offering things online, like Apple's offering their audio editing suite and their video editing suite. They've increased their free trial period. There are places like Gibson Guitars. They're offering free guitar lessons online. And of course that's to promote people buying and playing guitars, but that's not a bad thing at all. You're going to, now's the time to try to learn a new skill. So you'll see a lot of podcasts or vlogs or whatever it may be at the end of this, because the technology is there. People are kind of forced to discover it right now. And this is how we're communicating right now. Zoom is another thing. Like, I've been using Zoom. Josh and Isaiah and I have been using Zoom on Breaking the Ice podcast. And it took a little getting used to, because, I'm a radio guy. I don't do a lot of video stuff. This is why I'm not on television and I'm in radio. So it's
a face for radio.
We had to, exactly. Face for radio right here. Perfect example. So we had to get used to using Zoom and technology like this. So I think as when this finally blows over, you're going to see a lot of people who had creativity, hopefully, who had creativity inside of them, letting it out and doing what they do, whether it's doing something like this or a podcast or learning an instrument, or someone's going to do graphic design or even learn a language or something like that. Hopefully people are taking advantage of this time, even though there's a ton of great TV out there.
I finished it. I saw Tiger King. I'm done. Like, what else is there?
It is so hard for me to accept that's real. The only way I know that show is real is that Joe Exotic is in jail for real.
And now in the hospital because he got COVID-19 apparently.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But I think he may have, if he wasn't killed by all those tigers and cheetahs and pumas and whatever he had back, and bears and whatever, I think he could probably survive the COVID-19.
Yeah, he'll be all right.
Absolutely.
I actually think if he gets out, he may be our next president. I'm not. He's got everything you need now. You've got name recognition out the wazoo.
Right.
He's over 35, reality star. Like, are there any other qualifications? I don't know. I think he's got it. I think he's got it all.
He carries a 2-gun rig.
Yeah.
He's got 2 revolvers.
He's got the guns. The gun lobby is going to be all over him.
Yeah.
Like, how would you beat him if you had to run against him as president? You know what? You wouldn't. You'd just quit. You'd be like, you'd concede. Take it.
Yeah. I can't think of a better angle than that. Plus, he's used to dealing with animals, and that's Congress right there.
He's got the left. He's gay, so the left has to love him.
Right? Yeah.
He's got guns, so the right has to love him. This man would win in the biggest landslide in U.S. history.
And that scares the crap out of me, Joe.
It should scare us all.
It scares me more than the White Lady of Easton. Okay? She can haunt me all day.
Yeah.
Joe Exotic as president is freaking crazy, man.
I get it. Okay, hey, we had a question, speaking of podcasting, from this young gentleman, Josh Dolan. Dolan? Is this what a professional podcast looks like?
Look at that guy's face, okay?
Yeah.
Does he look like he knows what he's doing, for crying out loud?
He looks a lot like this guy. He looks just like that guy right there on the left.
That's the face of a guy who never had a fluffernutter in his life until a few months ago.
Dude, from Lynn, Massachusetts.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Josh grew up in Air, Mass. And, I've driven through Air and I've been to Air. It seems like a really decent town, but he seems to be, I believe Josh actually grew up in some kind of Amish sex cult.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's in Rumspringa right now.
Yeah.
And he's starting to discover things like that. He never had hash browns from McDonald's. He didn't know people called Route 128. He had no idea what that was. And he drives on it all the time. There's things about Josh I'll never understand. He's got some serious weird issues. He hates the word treat. I don't even know why that bothers him. That's one of the most positive words in the English language, right? Treat, when somebody says, hey, this is my treat, Josh loses his mind. He has a visceral reaction. The veins come out in his head and he freaks out about it. I'm like, Josh, it's such a positive word. Why are you freaking out about it? But he's a crazy guy. But we try to do this stuff on Zoom. Yes, and this looks a lot nicer and sounds a lot better than what we do on Breaking the Ice. We're working on it though.
I'll be glad to help you with this software. I mean, it's easy. It's like this, but yeah, this has been a format that I've loved. Someone had me on as a guest and I said, wait, I could use this. Like that was just, and then this kind of took off from there.
It looks great. It's called StreamYard. Yeah. Is that, or
StreamYard. Yeah. So, I've, and you just got to learn. It's like a whole TV studio right here at my fingertips. And it's been awesome. But, so anyway, what have you been up to? Like how have you been? I mean, first of all, I know what you've been up to because it's what we've all been up to, but like, how are you passing the time? What's life post AAF like for you? You doing okay? I think about you a lot, and I don't mean to sound weird, only because like, dude, there but for the grace of God go I, right? That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. I got kids, I got a house, I got a mortgage. I feel you is all I'm saying.
Right. Well, I've been doing a lot of this because I don't have to be anywhere really soon. You know,
we just drank at the same time.
All right.
I swear we're related.
But I've been doing like what I was talking about earlier. I've been learning about podcasts, learning about different equipment, learning about, trying to build websites. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to, pivot. I'm trying to shift. So I'm kind of getting into all that kind of stuff. And now I've got time to do it.
Yeah.
Now I've got time to start a podcast or be involved in a podcast. Now I've got time to maybe build a tiny home studio. I'm not talking about like a huge recording studio, but find the right equipment that I can have in my little office here where I can do like voiceover work or stuff like that. I'm trying to educate myself on a lot of different things now that I have the time while still looking for a job, and I'll just throw it out there. I'm looking for anything. It doesn't have to be radio or it could be any radio.
Right.
But, that's what I've been doing. That's the key to not going crazy, right? You're staying busy.
Yeah.
You got to stay busy and you got to take this opportunity if you have time on your hands to maybe learn something new that you've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to learn Portuguese or something like that. Now you got a little time.
Yep. For sure.
So now I'm trying to do all those things. Unfortunately, and you're married, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So unfortunately, now I can't say, I've worked all day. I'm really tired. No, I don't have a job. So I've no excuse at all when my wife says, can we just get this done? I'm like, I can't. I got to get up early for work. It's like, no, I got nothing now. So I'm forced to do things that I wanted to do around the house.
So I follow you on Instagram. I love food. I do. And you post some food porn. I mean, XXX hardcore, like full frontal food porn. And I'm hoping, like, I'm guessing you're cooking a lot right now, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Cause we're trying to stay home.
Yeah.
Although I did go and I have to get my bi-weekly fix of Coney Island hot dogs here in Worcester. George's Coney Island is an institution. And I think they put some kind of drug in their chili for their chili dogs that makes you crave it. I'm just kidding. That's just me being funny. George doesn't put drugs in any of their hot dogs. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of cooking at home. I hope that's another thing, experiment, cook at home. You ever baked bread before? Well, now's your chance. Bake a loaf of bread, see what happens. I just started making my own tortillas. I had friends from Natick who gifted me a tortilla press and the flour and a cookbook. And I learned how to make my own corn tortillas. And now it's like every Taco Tuesday, it's a magical experience because
nice,
fresh, warm corn tortillas. You make everything at home. And it's great, teaching my daughter how to cook and my wife teaching me how to cook things. And, I've been eating a lot of food, but that's the sickness I have, Jeff. It's that sickness where, I have to take pictures of my food. There's some strange, I guess you could call it sexual thing where I see a chicken Parmesan laying on the plate in front of me. And it's just like, it's like seeing a lounging Betty Page.
Talk slower, Mike. Talk slower.
Right. It's beautiful. And so I got it to get it the right angle and the lighting. And, it drives my family crazy because I don't let them touch their food until I get all the good pictures. And then it's, it's embarrassing. But thank you for following and checking out my food porn. But I have to do it because if I don't know what else I would do. I would probably hurt myself. in some strange way.
No, I think we've all been drinking too much. We've all been because you're like, it's funny. You're like, well, it's Wednesday at 4. Okay. Hey, Mike, you're about to lose a little bit of respect for me. Maybe gain more. I don't know. Beer number 2.
That's right.
Yeah.
Made on honor. Yeah. Sold on merit. One of the finest local brews ever. If you just want to drink, like, I'm drinking this Vibes from Greater Good. This is a finely crafted beer. There's a lot going on, a very complex flavor. Not saying that Narragansett Lager is not a finely crafted beer, but when you just don't want to think about your beer and you want to drink, give me a tall boy of Gansett. I mean, they make some other, their Autocrat's pretty good. In the summertime when it's 90 degrees, I love the Dell's Lemon Shandy.
Yeah,
that's delicious. Cold, but that's a damn fine lager. So you like your lagers, right? I mean, you were drinking Jack's Abbey before, and that's one of my favorite lagers.
So here's what happened. I overdosed on hops. I used to love the IPAs and all that stuff. Loved them.
Yeah.
And I had have you ever had Sierra Nevada Torpedo?
Yes. I love that.
I think I topped out there. It's the hoppiest beer I've ever had, and I went, okay, this is this is too much for me. I couldn't take it anymore. And in the winter, I'm very seasonal with my beer. In the winter, I want like porters and good like meaty. And when it's hot out, I want the lighter stuff. Wachusett Strawberry, which they stopped making. They make it in kegs. You can get it in bars, but like on a super hot summer day. Dude, I'm telling you, one of my life goals is to run a marathon, and I would like me some Wachusett along the way, the Wachusett Strawberry, to just get me through that 26.2 miles all the way into Boston. And I've got a bib anytime I want it to the Boston Marathon because I've raised a lot of money. Yeah, I know, for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, I raised a lot of money for them. Not that I'm going to win or I'm not going to have an impressive number. But like they said, you've raised so much money for us. We have a certain number of bibs just say the word, because we know you'll raise a bunch of money for us. And so so I got that going for me, which is about all I have going for me right now. I'm so sad.
You know what, Jeff? You go ahead and you run that marathon, and I will be there at some point along that 26 miles, drinking those beers right along with you.
Yeah,
all
right, man. I'll be great. It'll be like, no, Mike, that's mine. Oh God.
I'll be handing those off to you. I think you can get the Wachusett Strawberry in their variety pack. I think, at least up until like a month or two ago, I bought a Wachusett variety pack. It had blueberry, it had strawberry, and something else in it. But that's the last time I had the Wachusett Strawberry.
So some of our folks are on to their second drink. I am. Mine is just beer. Yours is whiskey. Well done, Brian. I mean, whatever gets you through. We're happy to have you guys here. And if you have questions, by all means, jump in. So, Mike, when I was on the last time with you, God, the last time, that's so sad. My partner in the TV show that I do, New England Legends, works for PBS. He's a TV producer, been nominated, I swear to God, for like 9 Emmys, like 9. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. And grew up on AAF. And he said, listen, I've never, I mean, he's interviewed like presidential candidates, like huge people. Dude, geeked beyond geeked that I was like going on your show and on an AF. And he said, say my name on AAF. That's all I ask. I've never asked you for anything, Jeff. And I did. I was like, my producer, I worked it in. I'm like, my producing partner, Tony Dunn. Tony said, when I said, Tony, I'm going to talk to Mike Shue today. He goes, 2 questions, and they're good questions. Favorite Rush song, like popular Rush song, and favorite deep cut Rush song. Yeah.
Oh.
So give us 2. Like,
there's so many.
Yeah.
Oof. Let me hold on.
Who knew that would be the one that stumped you? Oh, there he is.
Wow.
There he is. Tony Dunn, 7 times. I'm sorry, not 9. It was 7. Please forgive me.
Nominated though, right?
Yeah.
Nominated.
Yeah.
That's
and he lost all 7 times. So there he is. Tony Dunn wanted me to ask you about Rush songs.
What's up, Tony? Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so like popular Rush song? Like something that's played on the radio all the time?
Popular one where you're like, oh, crank it up. And then the deep cut where you're like, just for Mike.
I have to say Free Will as for the popular one.
Sure.
Off
Good one.
Of Permanent Waves.
Solid.
I'll never get tired of hearing that song. Like I've grown a little tired of hearing Tom Sawyer and Limelight. Those are the huge hits, but you hear them a lot, you know. And but Free Will, I love that song so much. The playing in it, the lyrics, you know, Neil's lyrics are amazing. So that would be I guess the popular one. The deep one, that's the tougher question. There's so many great ones. I mean, all right, let's split it up into two. It's Tony, right? We're talking to Tony here.
And I'm going to throw that out. He already picked his. There it is. Subdivision.
Okay, so that's like a popular one. I got to tell you, that Signals album, that Signals album came to me at a point in my life where it just changed my brain. I first heard Rush with the Permanent Waves album. A friend's like older brother had it, and then we went through Moving Pictures, which was amazing. But Signals was mostly about, and it was so far ahead of its time, Neil's lyrics were mostly about kind of being detached and growing up in the suburbs and being someone who didn't belong. Like, I didn't play like sports in high school. And I wasn't part of a popular crowd or anything like that. And that's who Rush, I think mostly their music appeals to. And that's why their fans are so loyal, is because they appeal to the outsiders.
Yeah,
you know, the people who kind of stand outside, they don't belong, they kind of look in. So Subdivisions definitely, and that Signals album is just amazing, and it always has a very, very close place in my heart. But we got to ask Tony, we got to split this up. So I'll go with Neil Peart with a mustache.
Oh.
And after he shaved his mustache off. So that would be, that turning point would be the Permanent Waves album where he shaved his mustache off. So Neil Peart with a mustache. God, that's such a hard question. You know, Beneath, Between, Behind from Fly By Night's really good. Circumstances from Hemispheres is amazing. La Via Strangiato is great, but you know, I like the version from Exit Stage Left. And then you go with Neil without the mustache. My head's gonna explode.
Yeah, Jeff. All right, fair enough. You know what? So I'll answer for me. I actually, getting ready today, I was listening to Spirit of Radio, which is I love that song. Like I love it. I just love. I quoted it in the beginning. I don't know if you caught that, but a companion.
Huge point.
Yeah. So but I'm gonna go with Deep Cut. Isn't even on a Rush album. The Deep Cut, and I'm gonna bring up a comment here from Brian. Dude, I'm totally gonna agree with you. I didn't even think of it until Brian said it. Take Off to the Great White North. Geddy Lee singing with Bob and Doug McKenzie. Well done. Take off to the Great White North. Take off. Yeah, totally. Well done. Yeah,
I love the whole lead up to the song on the Great White North album where Geddy Lee gets to do a little comedy.
Right, yeah.
Which is great, and it's hilarious. And a lot of people don't know that. Like, if you're not like if you haven't gone to see Rush in concert, you just kind of hear their music. You know, they're like seriously amazing musicians, and you know, sometimes really great musicians can be a little pretentious and stuff like that. And Rush has always said that they take their music very seriously, but they don't take themselves very seriously. And if you ever have seen Rush in concert, there's a lot of comedy. They make these little sketch films in between songs. They do a lot of joking on stage, and they just love making fun of themselves. You know, like when I went to see the Time Machine tour, they had this little film about the start of the band, and they were playing polkas. They had these like teenage kids playing them, and they weren't called Rush, they were called Rash, and they were playing polkas in some like Polish bar in Toronto or something. They would make this stuff up, and you know, so I'm glad. Like, Take Off is awesome. And the lead up to Take Off on the album, you get to hear Geddy Lee and his sense of humor.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's another thing I love about Rush. It's like, you know, I love their music. I could talk their music and the intricacies of their playing and Neil's lyrics and everything. But, you know, they're also goofballs, which I think is fantastic. You know,
$10 is $10, right? I mean, let's face it.
That's right. $10 is $10.
$10 is $10. You know what's so funny? Like, everyone observe. Like, we can watch this on the replay. You can watch this, Mike. When I mentioned Rush, Mike has changed as a person. Like, he was like, you were like WAF, and yes, it was good, and blah 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 blah. And you're like, oh, Rush, yeah. Like, we just hit the real Mike shoe right there. We got him in. We got a couple of beers in him. You know? And now we got the real Mike shoe. This is good. Okay, wait. I want to talk about Legends because we only have few minutes left, and this is a little bit of beer. So So recently, very recently, you went to Spider Gates. There it is. That's a Mike Shue photo. Spider Gates in Leicester, Massachusetts, and people were posting all kinds of comments.
Oh, yeah.
Can I like toot my own horn for just a second? Is that okay? Sure. What the hell?
Please do. Yeah.
Yeah. So someone made a comment in there, like, you asked the question. There are these 4 stone pillars in this flat area. Does anyone know what that is? And someone's like, "Oh, that weird Massachusetts guy." And I'm like, "Hey, I'm the weird Massachusetts. I wrote that book. That was me." And so,
Wait.
What?
Were they talking about the book, or were they just calling you a weird Massachusetts guy?
You know what? In all fairness, I don't know. Can I just go with the book? Is that okay? For my own ego, can I just say the book? God, Mike, come on. So anyway, so you asked the question. Here's the thing about Spidergate Cemetery. It's in Leicester. It's in the woods, right? This is not like on the side of the road. You got to know where it is. You got to walk in the woods to get to it. And it's called Spidergates because of Exhibit A right here. Mike took a picture of that, and this is another one of yours. I noticed you go very black and white. Yeah, black and white when you're in the cemetery. It's super small, maybe like a quarter of an acre. Like that photo shows most of it right there. Like that's, like it's
right.
It's not large at all. Now, let me just set this up. When I first researched this years ago, I heard all these legends about Spidergates. Number one, there's a hanging tree where all these people committed suicide. Number
what?
Two, yeah. So stay with me. Number 2, the roads appear and disappear around Spidergates. Number 3, there are 9 gates to hell. You heard that one? Around Spidergates, 9 gates to hell. Number 4, there are robed figures that come in there and chant at night and then perform these occult rituals.
Didn't you tell me about that one though?
I did.
All right, I'll let you go. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, no, okay. And then there's like this flat area of ground where strange rituals took place. And so when I picked apart every single one, I learned that all of them were true. Sort of, to an extent. So the flat area of ground where ritual took place, you walk in and it's weird, right? You see the 4 stones and you see this like rectangle and you're like, why? That's strange. Yeah. It sticks out. That's where the meeting house was. So that's where they had their Quaker meeting house. The robed figures, this one is mind-blowing because I got an email like 15, 20 years ago from some kids who said, me and my buddy were out there at night and these guys in robes holding candles were chanting. And I'm like, you're so full of crap. Delete. I didn't even respond. And then I went out there with a town historian in Leicester, who also is like a retired police officer. And I said, I'm just going to ask. I'm sorry to waste your time. But the robed figures, he goes, oh, no. That's true. They're out there. I've chased him out of here multiple times. And I'm like, oh, what? Like, are you kidding? And he said, no. And he said, they were coming to the grave of Ralph Earl, which you have a photo. There it is. Mike took that. And
wow. They're going to his grave?
That's the grave they were going to because the robed figures are from Worcester Polytech Institute, the Order of the Skull, which is just like Skull and Bones, except none of them have ever been president.
Right.
And otherwise identical. And Yale. Anyway, so they would go there and they say, no, we've got permission. Like, no, you don't. You can't be in any Massachusetts cemetery after dark. That's a statewide law. And it's a statewide law in like tons and tons of states. So they would go in there and the cops would come and chase them out, and that would be the end of it. Ralph Earl is one of the early founders of Worcester Polytech. They were coming to like pay some respects. It's part of this ritual. So just imagine, Mike, you're like 14-year-old Mike Shue in the woods with a buddy at this cemetery that's out in the woods and no one's around, and you're like, oh my God. You see these robed figures holding candles. Like, that's it, right? Game over. Like that's that. Like this is how it is.
If I was 14-year-old Mike Shue in the woods, 1, I'd be high as a kite.
There's that.
2, if I saw robed figures, I'd pee my pants and probably start running. Yeah, it was scary being there in the middle of the day. I was like, this is creepy. You know what creeped me out the most was, this is probably a Quaker thing, but all the stones are identical in design and shape. Yeah. And I found that to be very creepy for some reason. I don't know why, but it just kind of creeped me out like at 1:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so the hanging tree, there's a big tree right by that gate. It has it looks like an arm, right? Like this big tree. But I mean, we're talking 25, 30 feet up. It's way up there. So the thing is, in the 1970s, there was a rash of suicides in Leicester. And suicide, sadly, is a contagious disease. It is among peer groups, especially like in high schools when there's a suicide.
Right.
You got to watch for others. It's a tragedy that does spread. It is contagious, and it did happen in Leicester, but it didn't happen there. It happened across town. And over time, everyone knew this weird cemetery that they would go to, that party, because it's away from the road, it's out in the woods, and it's the reason it's there is because when Worcester Airport expanded the runway years ago, they bought all the houses, they took everything down, they shut all the streets, except the cemetery could stay, and it's still an active cemetery. It's still in use. People still have burials there, the Quakers. So the roads appear and disappear. Totally true. If you go there in February, you see all the roads, Earl Street and all these old streets. It's crystal clear. Go there in July, you can't see them because the weeds are like head high, right? All the stuff grows up and you can't see the roads. 9 gates to hell. Totally true. You probably passed the first gate marking off Earl Street. It's just a open shut gate, and there's gates marking, that block various roads so you can't drive cars down there, which you couldn't anyway because it's not. I mean, it's a mess. It's a trail. It's not even like a road anymore. Yeah. So the 9 gates to hell is true. The hanging tree is true, just across town. The robe figures is true. The elevated area of ground is true. And then the haunting, well, what's self-respecting New England cemetery doesn't have a ghost or two attached to it, right? There you go.
Well, somebody had to be wronged at some point, and hanged. Someone got something wrong about someone and called them a witch and they got hanged, and then some spirits got to find vengeance on somebody. That's right. Like the story of all New England hauntings, right? Either like they got screwed over and, in true masshole fashion, it's like, I'm coming after you, and
yeah.
I have a question though about, I don't know really the directions, but over where, let's see, if you're going into the gate and then you go to the right in the cemetery, there's like a section that looked like it has stone posts that kind of abuts it, a small section. And it looked like the posts have holes in them. So it looked like there was either a chain or ropes or something. And it's a very small section. It's about the size of like a regular SUV, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. And it's just on the other side of the wall. Do you have any information about that at all?
I don't. And honestly, I haven't been there in a good 8 years. So it's been a while since I've seen it. But yeah, no, it's one of those places that's just legendary. Everybody knows about it. You dare each other to sneak out there, and it's away from watchful eyes. I totally get it. I want to share one more Mike Shue photo from your Instagram, if I could, just to this was the moment where I'm like, oh, dude, we're probably related. So he goes to a cemetery and he's taking pictures. He's taking great pictures. They're beautiful. And he gets this one. And I'm like, yeah, that's that, right? Like done. Like we gotta talk. We gotta hang out. That's me, man.
How can you not get that one?
No, legend tripping with beer, hell yeah, let's do it. Wait, we got a question. Marie, you fellas lit? I don't know. I'm only 2 beers in.
I'm getting there, man. This is like 7 point something %. So
I'm having a Narragansett.
Greater Goods beers are pretty high alcohol level, but yeah, you're drinking the Narragansett, the Cranston, Rhode Island finest right there.
That's right. It's like making love in a canoe, Mike. Oh.
So I just a couple of real quick questions for you.
Fire away. Whatever. Hey, Mike, you may find this hard to believe. I have nowhere to be.
Yeah, neither do I, man. I got nothing going on here. So
fire away.
You mentioned to me in a message the Rutland prison camp.
Yes, Rutland, Mass. Yeah,
I had no idea this existed, and I'd like to take the family there too. Is that something that's easily accessible? Do I have to talk to somebody to get in there?
Nope. It's a park. It's the Rutland prison camp was exactly that. It was a prison camp, and there was various outbreaks and pandemics. People died there, and there's actually burial ground in the woods. You have to kind of know where to find it. I could probably get a Google map and put an X on it for you. And the way you're there is when you see all these humps that look exactly like 6 feet long, 2.5, 3 feet wide, and many of them. And you go, oh, there's no question that you found the 20, 25 bodies that are buried up there. So it's there's these old tunnels, these old buildings, the foundation of an old hospital. It's a photographer's dream. If you go to my Twitter, actually, you can see I'm standing in one of the tunnels. There's my well, that's Facebook and Instagram. There, guys. Damn it!
Wow,
I thought I had all.
good.
I thought I had all the. I thought I had all the plugs, but so yeah, so you there's these old tunnels and stuff like that. It's so photogenic, and I love photography of the decrepit and the decaying. There's beauty in it, right? There's beauty in how nature retakes what's hers and what has been hers all along, right? The second we walk away and we're not weed whacking and we're not laying down like fertilizer and weed killer, like it's just it comes back and it takes what was hers all along. And that's Rutland Prison Camp. I'll be glad when we're done to send you an address and stuff. It's a public park. You can park there. It's all legal. It's okay. And you can go explore it. It's very cool. Next question.
So
go.
Was it a prison camp in the style of like you see in the South, like chain gangs, stuff like that?
No, it's more. This would have been like a lower security, so not like the highest level of criminals. This would have been people that were allowed to work. I mean, if you had to go to jail, this is where you would have wanted to go, minus the yellow fever and all that crap that would have killed you. Which is unfortunate. But this would have been like, at least you would have been like raising chickens and doing farm work and like being somewhat productive with your prison time. So yeah, it was it was not the maximum security kind of thing. Go
okay,
next
one
question.
thing. A person who messaged or put up a picture on Instagram, and I asked them where this was. There was a B-29 bomber crash in Uxbridge, and apparently there's a marker where I guess on takeoff there were 3 B-29s. One of them clipped another one. And I think they both went down in Uxbridge, and there's a marker there saying, how many people died. And I guess the pilot was able to keep it up, the plane, in the air long enough for his crew to jump out. But I think he died and another guy died. And I don't know if you knew anything about that one.
Uxbridge. That, yeah. I'm 87% sure they have the wrong town.
Okay.
I know near the Quabbin, there's a plane wreck of a pretty significant military plane up in the hills that crashed, but there's no airport in Uxbridge. Like, I don't know, where would that plane have taken off?
I don't know. This was World War II, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't. So there is a World War II crash near the Quabbin that I know about. I don't, and I feel like I'm the kind of guy that would know about a crash in Uxbridge. I'm not infallible. I'm not saying for sure it didn't happen. I'm just saying, man, I think I would know that. But totally possible. We're going to have to consult the Oracle.
Well, he sent me directions. I can message those to you. And
yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I could be. I don't know everything. But that doesn't. The Quabbin.
You don't know everything? Why the hell am I talking to you then, Jeff? Jeez, I'm wasting my time here. I thought I was talking to a guy who knew everything, for crying out loud.
I know. There's that. But anyway, Mike, it's been an hour. We're pretty much, I know.
I'm almost, I need another one here.
I know. But here's the beautiful thing. Like, if this keeps dragging on, we should just do it again. We'll talk about whatever. Yeah,
absolutely. I appreciate you having me on. This is awesome. And like I said, I love talking to you because we share so many interests, especially, the weird places in New England. And, my family loves all that stuff. So it's good to get, this information from you at this particular time. So we're not all stuck in the house together, trying to kill each other. And we're going out and we're exploring this stuff firsthand, and it's great for social distancing because a lot of these places are either cemeteries or they're abandoned, or something like that. So this is good stuff.
Yeah, totally, man. And I appreciate, like, from the first time I met you, I'm like, man, this guy's so down to earth. And that was cool because I've met a lot of radio guys, Mike. A lot of radio. I'm a radio whore. A dirty, dirty radio whore.
Well, that's the thing. You got to promote your, what you do. You got to spread the word, and you got to do the media thing. But I appreciate that, Jeff. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah,
like I said, you're an awesome storyteller. Everybody should listen to Jeff's podcast, New England Legends. What's great about it is they're bite-sized chunks. They're not like, Joe Rogan 3 to 4 hour epics. You get like 10, 15 minutes, sometimes less, but you get some really great stories, and they're from places that you never even thought that something happened there, which is a great thing.
Thanks, man. And so Mike, Breaking the Ice, that's what you're doing with Josh. And you can get that wherever you get podcasts. I've been listening to it. You guys are also doing videos that you can get on Patreon, which is a way to make a couple of bucks. That's cool. I totally get it. So Breaking the Ice, check that out if you're listening to podcasts. And also just want to tell you guys, thank you for everything that you've been doing. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, wherever else you follow social media, and Venmo's tips are accepted. If you guys enjoy this stuff each week, I'm happy to take a tip. This stuff costs money and I have none right now. So, do appreciate you guys. And people have been tipping, which is actually really cool, Mike,
awesome.
If nothing else, it's paying for the beer and the software. So
that's right. You got to tip your bartenders and your legend chasers.
That's totally important. So thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate it. I'm doing more of these. We got all kinds of stuff coming out. I'm going to get a guitar lesson in a few days from a buddy of mine from childhood. We did cooking classes. I've got a friend of mine in England who's a workout guru, and she's going to tell us how to work out at home. So more stuff's coming. Thank you, Mike Shue. Please stay well. Keep your family well.
You too,
keep hunting legends. Take care, guys.